fellow language learning nerds! Today I'm going on a side tangent about books! Yay! A few videos back I did a video on the Japanese version of A Game of Thrones. I know when I saw that when I was on holiday in Japan, I was like, that's so cool, and I bought it straight away. And I'm a nerd, what can I say? By making that video, got me thinking about other books that were originally, say, in English, that were then translated into Japanese. And what sort of books would I want in that sort of category? I actually already own a couple of them. Obviously the Game of Thrones one, hence I made a video of it. But also, not too surprisingly, I have a couple of the Harry Potter books in Japanese. But also, probably the fanciest one in my collection is that I have, thanks to a friend and my friend's mum, I have the Lord of the Rings trilogy in Japanese. I got it years and years ago, and I was like, well, I'm never going to be able to read this, but I'm going to keep it forever. I'm definitely tempted to make a video just like I did with the Game of Thrones one, but on the Lord of the Rings books that I have, just to kind of, I don't know, just to show them off, because I think they're pretty awesome. But that's a project for future me. Today I wanted to talk about some of the books that I would like to get a Japanese translation version of. So these are a list of books that I really love, and yeah, if I go, the next time I go to Japan, hopefully I will get to go to Japan again one day, I will probably have this list of books with me, and I will probably go searching through the bookshelves of Japan to try and grab myself a copy. Book off, I'm coming for you. It may come as no surprise that just like the few books that I already own in Japanese, the books that I want to get the translations of all fall into the category of nerd. I won't deny who I am, and that is a big old nerd. Alright, let's go through these books that I want Japanese versions of. Okay, the first one is this one. So I did go over to my bookcase and was like, oh, I'm gonna go and pick that book off the shelf and show it in the video. And then I realised that I had forgotten that I actually donated that book to a school and forgot to buy myself a new copy. So just pretend I'm really holding it for realsies. I'm holding it for realsies. But anyway, the first book is Howl's Moving Castle. I loved reading the original version of Howl's Moving Castle. Absolutely loved it. I think the first half of the book and the first half of the anime is very similar-ish. They kind of generally follow along the same lines, but then there's just a point that they just completely change. And I was not expecting it when I read the book, but I remember laughing out loud when it did. It was just so great. If you haven't treated yourself to the original Howl's Moving Castle, 100% recommend it. I really, really do. And I really hope that I can get myself a Japanese copy of the book at some point in the future. I just really want that. Yeah, guys, Howl's Moving Castle, come on. Even though I wasn't able to grab Howl's Moving Castle off my shelf, oops, I did grab another one of her books. That if I was able to buy another one of hers in Japanese, I think my second choice would be Charmed Life. After reading Howl's Moving Castle, it was the next one that I moved on to, and I think possibly it's my favourite one of hers. I really, really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, if you do end up reading Howl's Moving Castle and you like it, here's another one. The second one on my list is Dune. I actually read Dune for the first time only about 3 or 4 years ago and absolutely loved it. It's such a classic sci-fi story. I think originally, many years ago, my dad was the one who first recommended it to me, and then when they announced that they were going to make this this new movie that came out most recently. A load of my colleagues at the time were rereading this, and then they recommended it to me, and then I was like, fine, I guess I'll read it. Then I read it and I was like, oh, I guess I absolutely love it. And while having a classic sci-fi book such as Dune in Japanese would just be cool in itself, and one of the things I'd be interested in seeing is the subtleties in, say, the conversations that happen between characters. I feel like there's a lot of subtleties in the English version, but then Japanese is a language that is more subtle than English is anyway. So I wonder how, like is it even more subtle in the Japanese version? Are they able to do that? Like, yeah, I would love to read the Japanese versions for the conversations between characters and what people do and don't say, and what they say but then what they really mean, blah, 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 that sort of thing. That would be the main reason why I would love to read this in Japanese. Moving on, the next one that I would love in Japanese is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now, this is another book that was actually recommended to me by my dad, which, now looking at which books I've chosen, this list is mostly my dad's fault. But yeah, I would like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's such a unique book from all others in English anyway. It's so weird and quirky, and it's kind of like the author just went bleh with all his ideas and then just arranged it on the page as, you know, in the way that entertained him more than anyone else. And, you know, if readers liked it, then, oh yeah, that's a plus, I guess. It's just so unique and so weird that I would love to see how anyone attempted to translate this into Japanese. I think that would be so cool. The Hitchhiker's Guide is a trilogy in 5 parts, and I think I would probably get the first one in Japanese if I could, though I think I would also be tempted to get the second one, the restaurant at the end of the universe, just because the whole restaurant scene is usually the first thing I think of when I think of the Hitchhiker's Guide. So maybe either one of those two I'll be pretty happy to add to my shelf. Okay, on to my kind of last-ish selection of books. So these last 2 that I have here are actually part of one big series, and that is the Discworld series. Yes, another series that was recommended to me by my dad, and I absolutely love these ones. Not only is it a series that I just fell in love with, but also these particular copies that I have. Over half of the books in my Discworld collection are actually originally owned by my dad. He was very kind enough to give me his entire collection when I was a teenager, which he says he loaned them to me, and he holds the rights to just request them all back. But I say he gave them to me as a gift because he's such a loving dad. Either way, Dad, you're not getting these back. Anyway, I really love the Discworld books. And yeah, I would love to see how a translator has translated these into Japanese. I think they would be really fascinating. I was looking at the Discworld books, and I was thinking, like, if I was to pick 2 that I could get in Japanese, and I think I might pick these ones. Mort was the book that I think I like completely fell in love with Discworld when I read this one. Like, I had read one before then, and I had really enjoyed it, but I think this one made me a fan of the Discworld, you know? One of the things that I'd be interested to see is how do they translate the character Death when he speaks? Because in English, whenever he speaks, everything's written in capital letters, and there's no like speech marks next to it. It's just meant to represent these heavy words just appearing in your mind. And I don't know how they would do that in Japanese. Like, they don't have capitalization, so you can't have that. So do they change it in any way? Or are they just not able to do it in that way? Yeah, I'm not too sure, but I want to know. The other one I chose was Men at Arms. I guess this is such a police drama-y sort of book that I think I would love to find out how similar those stereotypical police characters translate into Japanese. Like, are they exactly the same? Are there slight differences? Like, how it translate. Also, and similar to, I think, The Hitchhiker's Guide, very distinct British humour in this. And again, how does that work going into Japanese? I think I just have a lot of curiosity about how these books would be translated. When you're translating stuff, some things are obviously gonna have to be lost. Some things can be directly translated, and a lot of things probably have to be adjusted to kind of fit your new language and audience. But yeah, I think that's kind of fascinating. One of the things I think I would really be interested to see is if any words get given kanji when translated into Japanese. A lot of things I expect to be just phonetically translated. So like in Harry Potter, Gryffindor is just Gryffindor spelt with the Japanese phonetics. But there may be some words that are given kanji and then there's extra meaning put into that, and I think that can be really interesting to kind of find out what someone has chosen to give this word. Like, what extra meaning have they put in? What meanings have they found that fits this quite nicely? Yeah, I think I'm really curious about that, and I really look forward to finding that out when I go shopping. Of course, I also remember when I did go into Japanese bookshops when I was on holiday, there were parts of the bookshops that had books that were recommended, the recommendation section, and I know for certain when I go book shopping, I'm going to go and try and find Japanese books written originally in Japanese, and I'm going to read those for sure. But I think I have a little collection of books, my curiosity books, that I want to I want to see how they're translated into Japanese. Conclusion, I want more books. Okay, I think this video has been quite rambly, but I have very much enjoyed rambling on about books that I want. If you could pick any book that you love that was, say, originally written in English, but you would love to find out how they translate it into Japanese or even another language, do tell me what you think would be cool or interesting to read, because I'd love to know. I will let you get on with the rest of your day, and I will get out of this area before the sun creeps even further into my space. Hopefully I will see you in the next video, and for now, may your grammar be structured and your vocabulary varied. Bye!